Hi, hello, and welcome to Rosset Bespoke Butler School. So this is a first for us. We are doing a little live cooking class. Today we've got Chef Rachel, and what she's going to do is she is going to teach us some super simple but delicious canapes that any sort of butler can rustle up at the last minute, ready for those unexpected guests. Because one of the most common things, I'm sure anyone who's been a butler for a while who's watching this will know exactly what I mean when I say the boss will give you a call at sort of 6:30 in the afternoon and Simeon, I've actually got some friends coming round for drinks before we go out for dinner. Could you please just rustle up some canapes? Now, you know, you've often got just different things inside the house, and this is just basic store cupboard stuff. So I'm going to let her go through the details, but basically I've got some of these lovely radishes, tomatoes, chives, you know, some herbs, a bit of cucumber, some chicken, leftover beef, and we're just going to bring all that together to make a delicious set of canapes. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm just waiting for her to log on to the system now. So hello everyone, and welcome back to the Rosset Bespoke Butlers YouTube channel. Now tonight I am delighted to tell you that we have Chef Rachel Muse joining us. She is a private chef, and today, well actually I'll let you explain what you're going to show us today, please, Rachel.
Thank you for the introduction, Simeon. Thank you for having me on. My name's Rachel. I've been a private chef for longer than I care to remember. It's at least 25 years, but I have kind of stopped counting. So we'll say 25 years. And have worked in lots of big houses all over the place. And it's on many different occasions I've been asked to, oh, can you whip up some canapes for 8? Can you whip up some canapes for 12? And that's great. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some canapes, not out of beautifully pre-planned items, but out of items that you might have hanging around, because in my experience, canapes are often done on the fly. So this is to show that canapes can be made out of anything, they can be made to look pretty out of anything, and anyone can make them, absolutely anybody. A child can make a canape as long as they understand the basics.
Fantastic. I mean, that sounds really exciting. And you're spot on. It's something that just gets dropped on you at a moment's notice. By the way, I've got some friends coming around for drinks. We need canapes. So this is essential, really.
Yeah. And I think that a canape is really quite simple. It's 3 things. It's a base, a taste, and an ace. By an ace, I mean a colour or a garnish that sets it alight. Ideally, it's 2 tastes. So it would be, the simplest form is beef and horseradish, which is what we're going to do with one of ours today, which is a classic British combination, loved particularly by British men, but not disliked by British women in my experience. But it's a classic, and it turns into a very nice canape. You just need an ace, you just need a garnish for it, otherwise it's reddish brown and white. You need something to make it pop. But really, anything to be garnished. You need a base, you need a taste, and you need an ace. That's simple. And so we together are going to make some canapes. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you'll enjoy the experience. You, Simeon, will enjoy the experience.
I know I will.
And anyone following along, if you're going to follow along, will think, oh yeah, you know, canapes aren't scary. They aren't.
Fantastic. Right. Well, I mean, I'm very excited about this. I think I've got everything, although you've just mentioned the horseradish, which I know I've not got. So you chat away and I'm going to grab the horseradish.
Okay, cool. So I'm a private chef, as discussed, and I will do everything in terms, I have a little black book, which I take all my notes in. I write all the notes about what a client likes or doesn't like, what their guests like and don't like, any allergies, I write it all down. And I'll write any type of food requirement down as a little menu, and then I'll write the shopping requirements or the provisioning requirements. So you'll see this is marked up as Simeon Friday morning canapes. Roast beef with horseradish, fries, cucumber with garlic, cream cheese and radish, roast chicken with pesto and pepper. And then I wrote down the shopping list. I sent this to Simeon, and Simeon did his provisioning. And so now I'm going to show you what we've got and how we're going to do it. So it was discussed that we would need to have a base, a taste, and an ace. The base, in the case of the beef and the chicken, is going to be bread, which in our catering business, we make little croutons, well, actually fairly big croutons, like that sort of size croutons, and we call them duff duffs because you put them in oil and you go duff, duff, and then you put them in the oven. So to us, they're not croutons, they're duff duffs. That's just our little shorthand, and we make that out of bread. So shall we start by doing that?
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay. So we've got the oven on. For Simeon, it's a cold rainy day. For me, it's a hot day, so it's not an ideal day for putting the oven on. So I've got some bread from the cash and carry that was reduced, and it's been in the freezer. All kind of to show you that canapes need not be fussy and fatty. They can be made out of anything at any time. So how many canapes do you normally say per person, Simeon? I think it's normally, well, we kind of think that it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 an hour. So I'm actually going to use these for a drinks party later in my own garden.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, well, exactly. Why let them go to waste?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make, I think I'm going to make 9 of each.
9 of each. Okay.
9 of each, because I want 8, and therefore, if somebody wanders through the kitchen and go, oh, they're nice canapes. If a client wanders through the kitchen and go, oh, they're nice canapes. You go, oh, would you like one? Rather than go, don't you dare touch them because I've already counted them. You can go, yeah, would you like one? And let them have them. So this is, I always do at least 1 or 2 more. Also, you know, somebody might drop one on the floor. You know, life's uncertain. So what I've got the bread. I'm going to use the serrated knife. Now, if you're uber posh, you might have a little kind of round cutter, or if you know, if you've got children and you make tiny little biscuits or Christmas decorations or something like that, you might have a tiny little round cutter. If you do, great. If not, you cut them. It makes no difference in the scheme of things. So I've said 9 each. So I'm going to you pick 4 slices of bread.
Let's see how
this is bread that's been in the freezer. It's pre-sliced. It's nothing special. Right. So I'm going to cut the crust off. So I spent a long time making sandwiches for private jets. So what I can't tell you about making pretty bread into pretty shapes is really not worth knowing. So I'm cutting the crust off.
Okay. Crust coming off.
2 sides. Because the third side, you'll see the third and fourth sides are sitting above that. Then, right, so now I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to work out what size they're going to be. So I'm going to say that size, because they will, by putting them in the oven, they will shrink slightly. Okay, so I'm going to say they're that size.
Okay.
I'm taking 2 sets of crust off, this one and this one.
So you have to bear with me. Right. Okay. I've got my homemade bread here, so it's not quite so uniform.
Oh, I see. I'm being shown up by the butler.
I've got these sort of unusual size slices.
Beautiful. And that's absolutely fine. So look, my plan is I'm going to cut this into that.
Yeah.
And then this side here is the setting of the square. I don't want to cut this side off as well, because I'm going to cut this side off once I've worked out what's happening in terms of the square.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I'll do it, and then you'll.
Yeah, I'll copy.
Very gently. And I use my finger and my thumb. Yes, I've got a funny shaped thumb as the marker. I'm pressing against something, and then I can do this one the same width. So I cut off the crust to match for this. And in fact, I have messed that up. This one is bigger than that one. But you do understand the principle of it's not me doing it personally. And so now I'm going to cut squares like this. And as I said, this will become slightly smaller. And you need to be very gentle. Become slightly smaller once they've been made into treatment. You do need to be very, very, very careful. In fact, this is the most technical part of the whole procedure, is cutting the bread. And these bits, these aren't going to work. We can make those into these bits here. Aren't going to work. We make them into crumbs and we use them to make stuffing or something else. So now I've got 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times 4, 16. So I'm just going to do a few more because I want, what else I was going to do? 9 of each, 2 9s are 18. So I'll do it better with these two. You'll actually understand what I'm doing first. So a good example. Sorry about that. I'm going to cut this using my index finger and my thumb as the markers.
Yep. Okay, brilliant.
So I haven't even cut that straight to begin with. Honestly, this is the hardest part of the whole procedure. While also lining them up on whatever service stuff you've got as well. So I'm going to go like this because then I can definitely make some width that side. Right. So I'm going to go cut this same width again. Unlike last time when I didn't manage to do that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think these two, and then from there I just squares. And you've got to hope that nobody at the canape party is going to be got a ruler out and measure it precisely.
Well, I certainly hope they don't for mine because my bread.
Just open another bottle of champagne. Blind them with science and or blind them with alcohol.
Yeah, they wouldn't even know what way's up, let alone.
Yeah.
I can assure you. I don't necessarily want to show you mine, but yeah.
I think that's very good. I like that. Now, so what we need is a baking tray.
Yep.
I've got one here. Now you see, I'm quite lazy, and or you can say it's lazy, or you can say I'm very efficient with my working practices.
Efficient sounds good.
Depending on your point of view. What I'm going to do is going to put a bit of tinfoil down, so there is a much less washing up to be done. Oh. So because time is a resource too. Tinfoil's a resource, but also time is a resource.
That's true.
And okay, if you're not in charge of washing up, you can make as much mess as you like. If you are in charge of the washing up, which I invariably am, I don't want to make any more of it than I have to. So here we go. This is just vegetable oil, sunflower oil, not olive oil.
Not olive oil.
Because olive oil you shouldn't put in the oven. It doesn't want to be hot. It wants to be cold. But something like rapeseed oil or vegetable oil, all good. And then I'm going to make a little kind of puddle of oil in one. And you're going to need more oil than you think.
Okay.
You see that? And so what I do is I get these in the hand and I just go just.
Ah, hence the term.
This is why we call them just. And then you'll realise, oh, I've run out of oil and need to put a bit more in a puddle. So I've got a puddle of oil here. I go just, and then I put the almost squares, play along, let's call them squares, out of the area of oil. And then as you go, put a little bit more oil in, there's less smell coming off them. Right, so just play along. You see, like this, that's a nice square, that's a nice porridge roll, but it's much smaller. But, you know, don't worry about these things.
This is good. I'm doing some remedial work to make mine look a bit more like yours, some last minute trimming, but
oh yeah, but honestly, this is just the base. This is just the base. So this is going to provide a carrying method, a picking up method, like a way of lifting them.
Yeah.
And it's also going to provide a little bit of crunch. The other base we're going to use is cucumber.
Got my cucumber.
Which we don't have to just that and put that in the oven. That provides a bit of colour, green from the rind, and and a bit of crunch. So are you ready to put your just in the oven?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Probably the proper word is canape, but as I said, in my business, we always call them just. And so who's just stuffing the just? Have you just the just? You chop and get on with stuffing the just. You can prepare as well. But chuck them in the oven.
So in the oven, done.
Yep. And so it's about 180. Fan if you've got fan, not that. It's not really good. The only thing that you want to happen is for them to crisp up slightly and not to burn.
I've got my cucumber here.
Lovely. I've got a knife. I've got a knife. This is nice. There's a lot of talk about knives. To me, the primary thing that matters is that it's sharp. That is sharp. Good. So I'm going to take the plastic off. And again, there's a lot of talk about putting plastic on cucumbers. I think ultimately it makes them last a lot longer. So yes, it's the waste of the resource of a bit of plastic. However, if it makes the cucumber last longer, it's, 6 of one and half dozen of the other. I'm just going to give it a little rinse.
Yep. Already did mine.
And then you kind of want these slices thicker than you think. Right.
So in sort of millimeters.
I mean, not massive, not massive like that.
No.
But thicker than you think. And then I'm a chef, so I put my finger as the marker and cut. See?
Okay. So
I put my finger as the marker.
Yeah, I see.
And then cut. And so I've got something. Well, that's not level. Hold on, let's have another go. So it's very slightly on the cross as well. Like when I say on the cross, like the French cut baguette, very slightly, because that way you see more of the. See that flap. And you can cut it more on the cross. If you cut it more on the cross, like that, A, it's bigger, and B, you see more of the green.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of biased.
A little bit. I've only done it a little bit because if you do it a lot, A, that's good because you get more green to see, but you get something that maybe is a bit too big.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Between having a lot of green on it, and this one it just doesn't look visible because it's not complete. It's not all the same. It's not a uniform thickness. So I'm going to like this. I said it was making 9, didn't I? So,
okay, there's my 9. 1,
2, 3, 4, 5. It's a bit irritating when you're trying to do dinner for 16 and somebody's forgotten that they've invited somebody round and they say, quick, we'll have a quick drinks party on the west lawn and then we're going to serve dinner on the east lawn, on the east terrace, so they know what the 2 groups of people won't cross.
Yeah, the classic being in 2 places at once.
Haven't you? Right, so there we go. There are our bases. I'm just going to have a quick look in the oven to see how we're getting on with burning the just.
Yeah.
Right, they're still soft, We need a little bit more, but not much. So once we've got the cream cheese on the canape, the clock starts to tick.
Right.
So I would say we've probably got an hour.
Okay.
Once you cut the cucumber, you've got an hour until you want to be serving.
Yeah, I get you.
Ideally, or shorter.
1 hour and count.
Okay.
Check the clock.
So we're going to take the cream cheese, and I'm a big fan of full fat cream cheese. It's only going to be a small amount. And also canapes, you do literally only need a tiny amount of ingredients to make 80.
I have managed to remove my croutons on time before they burnt, which is, to be honest, a miracle because I've got a history with croutons and I usually get distracted by something. I guess this is the beauty of not having my boss phoning me up asking me to do other things while I'm doing this. Obviously, normally you'll be also preparing everything else for the drinks party. So you've got your croutons in the oven. As Rachel said, they're very time sensitive. I shouldn't really touch them. But you've also got everything else is time sensitive. It's just the way it always seems to work.
Okay. So let's see your just there, Simeon.
Okay, so here's mine.
Very nice. So nice and crunchy.
Yep, they're crunchy. Yep, they're maybe not as even as yours, but they are crunchy.
Okay, well, mine aren't that even, so I don't think you should. I've been doing this for 25 years. I should be able to make them even. You've been doing this for 25 minutes. There's absolutely no reason why yours should be even. There's every reason why mine should be. So let's not worry about it. So you can turn your oven off. Sometimes you'll find they'll go hard one side and not as hard the other, so you might turn them over. But equally, if you're doing them for 125, you might not be bothered. It's up to you.
Good point.
So I'm putting them to one side, and we're going to carry on with our cream cheese.
Good, got my cream cheese here.
So I'm going to take a bowl like this,
Okay.
and I'm going to take some cream cheese like that, full fat ideally, and I'm going to take a spoon, and you do need a very small amount. So I've got 9 here. I need 9 lots of that much to put on them. So it's really, really small amount. Don't think, oh, that'd be a tub and a half. No, it won't be. So I'm not going to measure it. I'm going to do it by eye. That's 1. So I'm going to guess I need about that much. And I always slightly overguess, but that's me. And now into that cream cheese, you can add whatever flavours you would like. This has been out of the fridge for a bit, so it's already kind of nice and the technical term here is mudgy. Mudgy about. But if it wasn't already mudgy, you'd mudgy it about until it was nice and mudgy. And so I'm going to put a bit of garlic in there.
Garlic, I have my garlic here.
Bit of garlic. But you could put harissa. You could put, it's what you've got. Is open the fridge, see what you've got in there, because presumably you've only got things in the fridge that you like eating anyway.
This is a very good point. Yes.
Or if you're working in private service, you've only got stuff in the fridge that the boss likes eating. Yeah. So I'm only going to use 1. And if you're a garlic press sort of a person, this is not the time for me to shout at you for using garlic press. Just get on and do it however which way you would normally do it. This is a little bit old. That's maybe a little bit that was tiny bit dead-ish. Chuck that away. And this is actually going to be quite garlicky because there's this amount of garlic for that amount of cream cheese. So it's going to be quite garlicky, but we're going to assume that everyone's okay with that. Just give a little bit of a chop. As I said, if you are a garlic press person, go ahead, use garlic press. Or if you want to use garlic out of a tube or lazy garlic, then do that.
So are we talking sort of Goodfellas style, super thin slices and then chopped? Or?
Yep. I'm feeling that however you normally would do the garlic is however your taste buds are used to it.
Right, good call.
So you do it that way.
I love a bit of garlic, so I'm quite happy for it to, you know, have a bit of garlic substance in there, if you know what I mean.
Right, I'm happy enough with that. Put that in there.
Oops.
And then stir it around a bit. Let's see you. Yes, you're busy.
Smells brilliant.
Well, yes. I'm just going to taste this, and I'm going to do it in a professional manner. I'm not going to taste it from my finger. Whenever you see a chef tasting from their finger, you know that not to anything they make, because that's not allowed. It's not been allowed since like the 70s. So I'm going to have a taste. Yeah, that's nice. It needs some salt.
Salt. Got some here.
And now I've got a massive bay tree in my garden, which I'm constantly doing battle with. And so I make bay salt. So I take bay tree leaves and salt, and I put them in the blender. I put them in the food processor until I get a thing like that. And so I don't need to use as much salt, because some of the savouriness comes from the bay. But that's just me, because that's what I've got. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in.
Great idea. I haven't got that, but sounds.
No, and there's no reason why you should do. It's a trick I actually learned from the French. The French make salt with herbs in it. I like tastes where you can't pick out the individual tastes. You can't pick out, oh, that's horseradish, that's cucumber, that's red pepper, that's black pepper. I like a taste that's where everything is talking to everything else, and it comes as a big round taste, which you can't break down into separate sections. That's what I like. And so that even if you've watched someone make it, you know what's in there, and then when you come to taste it, you're like, oh, I wasn't imagining it was going to taste like that. They've developed that everything's talking to everything else, everything's working off everything else, and there's a roundness to it that there wouldn't be otherwise. That's what I like. Some people like to have, be able to taste one thing. Great, that's them. But I'm not like that. I prefer it when it's an amalgamation.
So it's like a piece of classical music, just hearing individual notes in the wrong order won't tell you what it's going to be. Exactly.
And one of my top tricks is sugar as a seasoning. And so to this, I'm going to add the teeniest, tiniest pinch of sugar. Teeny. And you think, oh, it doesn't matter, because if it's that small, it doesn't matter.
Honey.
Well, yes and no. But that's also like saying, with a child, when they've fallen over and you kiss them better, oh, it's a tiny kiss, it doesn't matter, it doesn't do anything. Well, no, it doesn't do anything, but it does.
This is our tiny kiss of sugar. Yeah, it doesn't taste sweet, but it just makes the other flavours more.
I think sugar needs salt, salt needs sugar. And just as I was becoming a pastry chef, the concept of putting salt in things started to really flourish. And so now I will always put salt in something sweet. Always, even if it's only the teeniest, tiniest pinch, like 6 grains of salt in a portion, then I will still do it, because it brings out the sweetness. It brings out the top notes of the sweetness. Sugar to me needs salt, and salt to me needs sugar. And so all this idea of making things with unsalted butter, I don't really get that. As a child, I grew up cooking things with salted butter, and I still do that because that salt is helpful. It brings out the sweetness to me. Yeah, to me, we're all different.
Unsalted butter, all different. Putting salt in broth, it just end up the same.
Yeah, exactly. And salted butter keeps better in my experience. Right, okay, so I'm going to leave these two apart, because as I said, once we put this on that, it will start to bring out the moisture of the cucumber. So let's do the other bits.
Put that to one side
next. I wouldn't, I know plenty of chefs who just chuck that amount of roast chicken away. I won't. There's a use for it. I don't know what the use for it is when I put it in the freezer, but right enough, I will find the use for it.
at some point. So again, you need a very small amount. So we've got our duffs here. They've really firmed up nicely now, and they are
crunchy as anything.
Crunchy. So we only need to cover 9 of these. That's a very, very, very small amount. So that will do 3. You see, I'm always over generous. I always have loads of leftovers, but I'm trying to do it properly because there's video evidence of what I'm doing. So I thought it was probably that much, but in reality, it's this much.
Yeah.
But because it's me, I'm just going to have a tiny bit more.
It leaves a little bit.
And this is going to be turned into a chicken salad for this evening. So I shall wrap that up nicely. Well, I'll do it properly later. There we go. So duff. But the reason I'm using a blackboard is because it shows up nicely for the filming. And as a chef, you spend a lot of time thinking about one colour with another colour. Mm-hmm. So if I were to be chopping this on this surface, it's harder to see what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like I've got in a white bowl, and I just noticed when I put it to the screen, you could hardly see it.
Yeah, exactly. So as chefs, we do spend a lot of time thinking about colours. So this I'm just going to dice, well, not even dice, just cut up small. I don't want it to be like a paste because I want there to be some texture.
Sort of properly.
Like that. And you think, well, it's nothing. Yeah, but we don't need much, so don't worry about it. Again, this adds weight to the fact that you can make canapes out of anything at any time, because you're going to have it in the fridge. You're going to have a bit of leftover something that's that big. I'm certain.
Always.
Right, the pesto that I had to go and buy. I think in my life I've probably bought pesto 3 times. This is the 3rd. Normally I would make it, and normally I'd have some in the freezer. I haven't. So I went to buy some. So there we go, pesto. And a little spoon. Here we go. So just, this is, the pesto is for colour, for taste, and for binding. So if you think about a canape being a taste, a base, and a base, a taste, and an ace. This is our base. This, our base. This will be our taste. And then the ace is a colour and a colour and a bit of oomph, a bit of excitement. So we're starting with a bit of excitement with the pesto. Just put in 1 tiny little teaspoon. And turns out I need to put in another tiny little teaspoon as well. That's not quite enough. You want something that's where it's just enough so that the chicken will kind of, one piece of chicken kind of sticks to the next piece, which means I need to have a new spoon here like this. Because all things like, I don't want to put this spoon in there because then the bits of chicken will go into the pesto and the pesto will not last as long. So we want to keep the pesto as sterile, for want of a better word, as possible. So it's just starting to be a bit sticky together. I'm going to put a tiny bit more in. Just like that. And you see still I'm using that spoon because I don't want bits of chicken in there because then it will go off. And it's, as a chef, it's a lot about respecting food, not wasting food, and preserving flavours, preserving each ingredient as much as possible. So for me, that's just nice. Just sort of sticks to its, there's a bit of cohesion. I'm just gonna have a taste, see if I need, let me get a spoon. And if you were having a posh day, you could put bits of pine nuts, extra bits of pine nuts in for a bit more texture.
Oh, I love pine nuts, lovely flavour.
In the mood for that. I'm happy with that. The chicken was seasoned when it was roasted. The pesto is nice and salty. So I'm happy with what's going on there. Because it's frozen, I can I can sense the texture that the chicken was frozen at one point, but by the time we're finished, I think that will have gone away, be unnoticeable, except if you're a chef. But if you're a chef, it's a life of pain anyway, because you're constantly analysing what's going on in your mouth and constantly thinking, well, why have they done that? Why have they done this? What's happened there? Yeah. So then we've got lining up all our tastes. We've got our cream cheese, got the chicken there. You can give the board a tiny little wash, and then we'll do the beef.
Cheese. The chicken.
Right, so yours, Simeon. Let's see yours. Your chicken.
My chicken.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Very good.
Thank you.
And we're just doing beef with a bit of horseradish. This is very good quality beef from my local butcher. This first slice I'm going to remove, and then underneath you can see that's nice and pink.
Yep.
There's a bit of the fat as well. So we're going to need really very little. I'm going to do 4 slices.
Okay.
And you said you had some nice beef left over as well?
Yeah, I pulled it out of the freezer and been in there for a while, and it turns out it's a fillet.
Oh, very nice.
A nice fillet steak, fillet of beef. So good shape for this actually, and it's. I couldn't even remember what it was. I just remembered I had some beef in the freezer, just like you were saying. It's just a matter of using up what you've got.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, there is a time for having very posh canapes. You've really planned in advance with, you know, smoked duck and kumquat jam and all that sort of stuff. But there's also a time of just putting something out to keep the boss happy. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, keep your friends happy. So, you know, nice day, spontaneous garden party. So, you know, social distancing in the garden. Just like a spontaneous barbecue. I was like, oh yes, we can rummage around and make some canapes, and everyone will think we're great hosts, and won't look at the fact that we haven't mown the lawn.
Well, this is going to keep my mother happy because she's looking after the children while I'm doing this. So I'll give her the canapes to eat.
There you go. But I need to taste it. As a chef, you need to taste everything you put out.
That's nice beef.
That's mine's nice. Mine's nice as well. Garnishes.
Okay.
And then once we've done the garnishes, we're in a very high state of go. So got the orange pepper and red pepper. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to look at my list and see what we actually said we were going to do. So roast chicken with pesto done. So the pepper is this to garnish that. Mm-hmm. See, that's going to look nice. These garnishes. And the cucumber with garlic, cream cheese, and radish. So the radish is the garnish.
Radishes.
For again, we need very, 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 very little. It's like you're making a tea party for midgets. Well, not midgets, but all those things that lived in the floorboards, the borrowers.
The borrowers, yes.
Yes. It's like making a tea party for the borrowers. And then I said on my list it was going to be chives. But I don't have chives, but I do have spring onions. So I'm going to make a spring onion into a chive, which is a top chef trick, that is. I'm going to give them all a little bit of a rinse because who knows what they might have had quite a complicated life already. So we just rinse off.
Just so you all know, I did that earlier before I brought them out, so don't worry that I'm not.
Okay. There we go. And this spring onion all a rinse. Which I would rinse even in non-COVID times. I would still give things a rinse. So we'll start with the peppers because they're the ones that are probably the most complicated. Mm-hmm. You see a pepper. See, this is a 3 pepper.
Yep.
And this is a 4 pepper.
Uh-huh.
You see this one is a triangle.
Yep.
You see that? 1, 2, 3. And this is a 4, it's a square. 1, 2, 3, 4. Apparently one's are boys and the others are girls, and one's sweeter than the other. I don't know if any of that is true, but I do know that does determine how you cut them. So you see we're going to say that's a square. It's not quite, but we're going to say it's a square. So we're just going to cut. So if we were to be preparing all of it, we cut 1, 2, 3, 4, mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
We're not going to do all of it. I'm just going to take her side off. I'm going to take this side off because, as discussed, we need so little. So all the seeds stay in here, so you don't have them all over the chopping board annoying you. because by this point, Simeon, you'd have popped the champagne. You'll be doing all the drinks and looking at me, going, "And the canapes, chef?" And I'll be going, "Yes, sir." So you know, time is of the essence. So I'm going to be taking this bit out. So I don't want little. Okay, I don't want these all over annoying me. So I'm going to take out this little bit of cartilage. I don't really know why. It's just because that's the way I'm trained. And then I'm going to cut to make some nice architectural like shards.
Right.
So this comes off the pepper like this, like that. So we're going to be cutting like this.
Okay.
I'm going to cut from the inside, not through the skin.
Yeah. But
from the inside.
Inside out.
Because then it's easier to do. Cutting through the skin is quite hard to get it precise because it's quite a hard surface to cut through, or a hard membrane to cut through. The inside is much easier. So again, I use my fingers to make a little border, or like a ruler. I cut against my fingers. So I'm making little strips like this.
Yep.
Okay. And that little first bit, that's a no, that goes bye-bye, so don't use that. So I was making 9. So that's all I need, is 9 little strips. And in fact, these strips might be too long. I might only need half, or I might need 2/3, but I'll do 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. That's that. And we do orange as well. So this is as discussed, this is a 3 triangle. So I'm going to cut a side off like that.
Yep.
And again, all the bits are all kept inside. And again, cut from the inside, not the skin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just check I can count. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't like that one, so I'm going to do another one. 9. Okay. So that's going for that. I'm going to make my spring onion into chives. As I said, that's a classic French, a classic chef trick. Make butter into cream. Well, make single cream into double cream by adding a bit of butter. Make chives into. Make spring onions into chives. All these things are just all in a day's work. So I used to work in a big hotel kitchen, and we did lots and lots of conferences, lots and lots and lots of canapes. And we would always say, well, you've got to work with what you've got. So you might want chives. You haven't got chives. So, you know, next best thing. Or you can do them like that, or you can just cut them really, take a skinny bit of spring onion and cut it really, really fine. It's just for, so this is going on the roast beef. It's for colour. So these are the 2 colours we've got going on so far. So it's just for a bit of colour and a bit of umami, a bit of oniony bitterness. I'm also going to do them really, really finely like that. And then we'll see when we're garnishing what we prefer. You might do both. There we go. Like that. And then last garnish is a radish. I really like radishes because they're a great colour. They're a nicer colour than a tomato to me because they're more, I don't know, they've almost got a bit of purple in them. Yeah, I like them.
Like a purpley, even a bluey hue.
Yeah, I like them. And also they've got a great crunch. So we're just going to cut them into teeny tiny little wedges.
Wedges.
Like wedges for the borrowers. Because like that, if they're a wedge like that, then we can stick them in the gooey cream cheese and then we'll see the red looking up,
Yeah.
right? And then you've got a couple of different ways of doing it, and have a plan in your mind before you start. You can either do what I like to call chocolate box, which is like a row of one and then a row of the next and a row of the last, or you can do, well, you can do platters of just one thing that you take out, like just like a smoked salmon canape, just take all of those out, and then do another one of, you know, beef with orange sauce, you know, do them all separately. But I think they are more exciting if you do it chocolate box style, so there's one, a line of one, a line of the other, a line of the next. Or alternatively, you can do it as just mixy matchy, just sort of in a nice way, chuck it all on so it's random.
Yeah.
It depends on what your boss like, what your clients like, on the level of formality of the service. It depends on lots of things. But I'm going to go for, well, what do you prefer, Simeon?
Well, I mean, I think, like you say, it's horses for courses. I mean, today we're looking at a nice informal garden or maybe a drinks thing. So again, like you, I've gone for like a nice little wooden board.
Very nice.
If it was something very formal, then, you know, you've got to think about silver and things like that to serve off. But of course, using silver gives its own problems.
Absolutely. What would you say those problems were? So,
well, one of the things is, you know, when you put something down on directly on silver, as soon as you take it off, there's a mark where it's that. So that's, you know, you need something else in between the silver and the canape, really.
I agree. Right, okay, so I'm going to go chocolate box if you're happy with that. I mean, you can do it the way that you like. But you see, these are the things we would talk about. As a chef to a butler, we would have those conversations unless we knew that the boss always liked it one particular way, and we would just know, like, don't mess with the system. He likes it or she likes it this way. Do it like that. The rest of the time, you and I might have a discussion and say, well, let's do it like this. Or we might have different types of tray. We might have 6 trays like this, 4 trays like that. The 6 trays, it's going to look better like this. The other 4, it's going to look better like, who knows? But, you know, these are precisely the reasons we communicate with each other, to work out what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the white ones first. And again, as a chef, you're constantly making decisions like this, working out how it's going to work for you. So look, I am in effect quenelling these, just to give it some form. Sorry, doing that slightly out of shot. It's not going to be the greatest quenelle of all time, just so it's got a little bit of form, a little bit of structure. Absolutely don't have to make it your life's work, but just so it's in a rough shape of if this were a little bit more solid, we'd have a lot easier time with that.
Yeah, and as you were saying, it's actually very soft now, the cream cheese, isn't it? So it's different.
Yeah, it is. It's because it's a lovely warm day.
Yeah, it started to even warm up here now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm glad the sun's out. No more rain. It's looking good in Scotland.
Really?
Never sound that surprised.
Like
what I'm finding is they're starting off as quenelles, and then after about a second, they're just melting into more of a puddle formation. I definitely should have put the cream cheese in the fridge.
I don't mind come in and taste, or for one to be dropped on the floor. So look, by themselves, they don't look like much, but when you see them like multiplied, they start to look a little bit more exciting. Just a tiny little wipe around. And then we're going to put a cucumber, a radish on the top.
Radish on top.
And this is one of those things which is beautiful in its simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
And on a summer's day, it's kind of got a sort of, I don't know, a sort of pimsy look to it. I've got a tiny bit of green on there, we'll take that off. Like that. So the fact they're not beautiful quenelles is now hidden because we've got other things going on.
Yeah, actually, I don't think it takes away from it at all. It just shows how.
No. So, you know, it goes to show that it's not a competition in being perfect. It's a competition in banging it out through the.
At the end of the day, when you take it out,
Thank
no one knows that you were trying to do a canal in the first place, so they will assume that was what you were going for.
And you see how tiny quantities of things. What's that? What did you say?
No, when you take it out, no one knows that that's not exactly what you were planning.
Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, good.
Absolutely, absolutely. A long, long, long time ago, I had a very, very high-profile job in Ireland, and every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'd be just cooking for. They had a beautiful dining room, and it would just be full of people. So 16, 18 people for lunch and for dinner, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was all of Ireland's greatest and came through that door. And everyone, you know, because there are Irish that will come and talk to the chef because they would think it would be snobby not to. So they'd come and say, oh, thank you for the meal, you know, chat, wanting to see who you were so you weren't faceless, so they would know who you were and you would know who they were. And somebody once came into the kitchen and said, that is the most beautiful pate I've ever had. That's amazing. Thank you so much. It was lovely. And I said, oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you. And pate hadn't been on the menu. I don't know what they were complimenting me for. But I didn't enter into a great big argument. I was just like, oh, thank you very much. I'm really happy you enjoyed it. No idea what they'd actually eaten. But so you don't argue with people. If they like it, they like it.
Yeah.
Right, so now we are pesto here. Does smell amazing. Absolutely amazing. And as we mentioned, this is made with chicken that's been in the freezer in my case, and you can tell very slightly the texture is slightly kind of crumbly, slightly off, but I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm going to carry on regardless. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take our duffs and put a little bit of chicken on. Just a little. And you see that's kind of like brown with brown, not very exciting at all.
Yeah.
But we've got a method for making it exciting. In fact, you know what? I'm going to put a little bit of pesto on the bottom as glue. Glue is often helpful with.
Yeah, to make it.
Just a teeny tiny bit of a gluing device. Like that. Then teeny tiny bit of chicken, like that, and then we're going to garnish with this and that. You see they're too long.
Yeah. So
do a bit of surgery. I think actually one of these might work for two. So I'm going to go. Breaking something over there. I'm going to go like this and like that, and then apply just enough pressure to get everything to stick together. So that is a bit of leftover chicken, bit of pesto on what is fundamentally a bit of toast, and beautiful, crunchy, delicious canape.
Fantastic. It's so simple.
Which just you can make canapes out of anything. So I'm going to do all of the pesto because I don't want to get the pesto dirty by having it in and out of. I'm going to take another 8, or you know, next 5 minutes, because that does happen, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Yeah. It's doing something well can often be the
a downfall because they want it all the time. Yes. Tell me about it. So here we go. And I'm not worried about keeping the chicken clean, as it were, because we're going to be using all this up in one go.
Yeah.
At least that's my anticipation. So I don't have to, I mean, I'm not going to I'm not going to taste something with this spoon and then put it in the bowl because that's never right, especially not at the moment when we all have to be very careful.
Yeah, no, I think the days of people taking big slurpfuls and whacking it back in, I think they're long gone.
Oh, that's just horrible. I once was allowed to go and watch a TV record a TV show that never has an audience. And the chef on that program, a chef who I'm certain whose name you will know, was just doing that all the time, just tasting stuff with a spoon, putting it back in the bowl. I was just like, that is okay. It's for a TV show. No one's supposed to be eating it afterwards, but it's just like it's the principle of the thing.
You're supposed to do the right way to do something. So
yeah,
so that should be right.
And so I'm just now I've realised I only want them quite short. I'm just cutting the bits of pepper to size and bunging them on. That's another technical chefing term. Just bung it on then. Glue it, and using the pesto is just slight glue. Stick it all together, and then we will come back and do the orange bits. How are you getting on, Simeon?
Good, good. I only had one colour pepper, so it's that much quicker.
Oh, that's all good. What colour have you got?
Red.
Perfect.
Well, I've good to go on.
But you do need quite a jazzy colour. You need quite a jazzy ace for these, because otherwise it's brown with brown. You have to be able to pick them up whilst having glass of champagne in this hand, whilst looking at somebody, pretending to be fascinated by the fact that they've, suing somebody or something. So you have to be able to, you're not spending a lot of time and effort in keeping the canapes straight and from dripping from you, because you've got a lot of social things going on. You've got to hold your wine, got to chat to somebody, you've got to pick the canape up and stick it in your mouth, all without paying a lot of care of attention. So it can't be dripping. That's basically my point. Drippy is not a good look.
Yeah, no,
so have you done your
these ridiculously impossible to pick up things were huge.
You've done. So I'm starting to think that starts to look really quite nice.
Yeah.
And yet you and I both know what's been involved. Has it been anything fancy dancy? Has anything fancy or dancy happened? Nothing. It's just the makes it look nice. Oopsie, look, I've dropped that on its side. This will be done at much greater speed if we were under fire.
Mm-hmm. As we usually are.
What's that?
As we usually are under fire, aren't we? We usually are.
Right. You usually are under fire, and so it's quite often pressing people into serve. Anyone's got the misfortune to wander through the kitchen, you tell them to wash their hands, get over here, put this on that, like that. I think these people who've been to cookery schools and got a diploma, and they think that, oh, it's all going to be great. I'm going to be able to I'm going to be a great chef because my cookery school has armed me with all the knowledge I need. I think to myself, it probably hasn't, because it's not about cooking recipes under conditions. It's about, so-and-so's just become a vegan. Right, okay, excellent. What we're going to give them? Well, in this case, what I'd give them is I'd give them these. I'd make a very, very, very fine dice of this, make it into a paste. And then I'd garnish it with something with a bit of crunch. That's what I would do if I suddenly discovered that one of the guests was a vegan. And it's about being able to think on your feet and provide very fast solutions. That's what being a chef really is about, I think. Right, so let's go to our final, last but not least.
Right, the grand finale.
The grand finale, indeed. So what we're going to do, this is actually quite old-fashioned, the way that I do beef. Mm-hmm. But it really works for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim for something quite thin and quite not very thick, quite not a thick slice. Yeah. And then we're going to go for a rectangle like this.
Right.
Sort of like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of fold part of it over, this part, and then make it into a little sort of roll around like people do for smoked salmon, then just roll it around.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. And then we're also, before that, we're going to use the horseradish as glue. And we need to be careful because horseradish is hot.
Yes, so not too much.
So don't be going mental. Do not be going mental with horseradish because it might be too hot for one or two of your guests. So I don't want to be getting anything from the spoon. I don't want to be touching anything with this spoon because then I'm introducing dirt into the horseradish, and horseradish is very hot and very, very spicy and very acid. So it would be hard to introduce something into the horseradish that would then make it go off, but it is possible. So, and you might think, well, for someone who's got very large disposable income, that's immaterial. You still don't want to waste things, and also you don't want to have to go to the bother of remembering to order more horseradish if it's sitting there on your shelf. Right, there we go. So I've made it into a little kind of ruchy thing. I'm sticking it on there, and as I said, the horseradish is primarily glue. I'm going to make another slice out of this. It's a bit long, that one. So you just kind of turn the top part over and then wrap it round on top of itself, almost like a scarf. And you don't want the meat to be too thick, otherwise it will be too chewy. And you have to bear in mind some of your guests might have dentures. So the last thing you want is a massive piece of quite thick beef in your mouth whilst you're trying to have a nice chit-chatty conversation. I'm going to start another piece here. Nice chit-chatty conversation. And you're thinking, right, I've got a massive piece of beef in my mouth. I can't chew. Yeah. Life has stopped being good. I don't like this. Plus, of course, you can't spit it out anywhere if you're at a nice little, well, I suppose if you're in the garden, you have got some options.
Behind a rose bush or something.
Behind a rose bush, yeah. Drop it on the floor and hope there's some sort of passing dog that will eat it. But you have to, you have to be considerate. It's not just about making things that are pretty and not just about making things that you like. You've got to bear in mind what everyone else wants and likes. How are you getting on?
I'm okay. Because mine was sort of small and round, I haven't really done into squares, so I'm just kind of improvising a sort of. Okay,
you can completely. So if you've got something that's small and round, what you can do is just sort of almost fold it in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of wrap it around itself.
Yeah.
So, and this could be anything. This could be, bacon. It could, obviously cooked bacon. It can be absolutely anything. You know what? I think I'm going to do that as two, like that. That's a little bit thick. I don't like that. Try and get a bit thinner. I don't think I can. Maybe I can. Yes, I can get it a tiny bit thinner. And then we can use our fake chives as colour.
I've got real ones.
Oh, you with your real bread, your real homemade bread. Well done, you. So I'm going to make that a little bit thinner. So you have that like that to make it, you see, like the addition of something green just really kind of brings it to life, and also that will make it considerably nicer to eat because there'll be the freshness and the bitterness, A, of the horseradish, and B, of the chive. Actually, that chive's not going to work. The little round's not going to work because eating that is going to make it too difficult, even though it looks nice. Right, and we're going to put this on our platter. And then
Mine are definitely more rough and ready than yours, but you know, we've got the basic idea going on. So I'll just tilt the camera down so I can show people what. Well, this will be a nice one for people at home because they'll see.
yeah, and if this is the first time you've sort of done, has this given you the confidence to like,
Sorry, you broke up.
I've lost your audio. Oh, look, they're beautiful. Yeah, no, so you broke up as well. Has this given you the confidence to think, yes, I could do that myself with some bits of old, if I say tat, some bits of stuff that I found in the fridge?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it is just so simple. And what I think I might get my my children in to taste them as well.
Oh yeah, do that.
Yeah, although I will caveat this right now that my children usually don't like anything, but
but you see, if it looks nice, they
Yeah.
might be much more into it than if it looks like, you know, before we assembled it into looking beautiful. It's much more appetizing now. And as I said, you know, just the repetition makes something beautiful. Right, here we go. Last lot.
apparently there's
Right. Look at all my mess. Tidy up all my mess. Mess. All tidy. Out the way. And
like they do on
there we go.
Hello. Right, so everyone, this is Eva. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Say hello to Rachel. And here's some.
Hello.
I'd like you to,
I've been cooking with your dad.
what do you think? This is chicken with pesto. See, the faces aren't looking convinced, but I wouldn't let that dissuade it.
You got to try and shoehorn it into them, haven't you?
There's some beef, cream cheese, and a bit of cucumber. That's chicken with pesto, which you do actually love, to be honest. Yeah, which you do actually love, to be honest. So just grab one of them and give it a try.
We get the seal of approval.
I think that was a very full mouth yum, so that's a good start.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You see, you've made a rod for your own back now. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do that every Friday now, all through the summer. This will be Friday canapes.
That sounds.
I'm sorry, I've made more work for you.
Wow. Look, if we look at, you don't like it, oh.
Oh, I'm sorry you don't like it.
I'll give that one to someone else. Try some of the pesto chicken. I think you'll like that.
Oopsie daddy.
Oh, oopsie daddy. There you go. Oops. Oh.
I'm gonna have a beef and horseradish.
Beef and horseradish.
It's lunchtime.
What do you think, Eva? Good, thumbs up. There we go. Right. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. That has been absolutely brilliant.
I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it.
And yours is beautiful. I love that's a crouton. Feel free to.
Yeah.
It's not a crouton, it's a duff.
Duff. This is like what?
Yeah, it's been an utter pleasure. And we might find something else that we can work on. Another show and tell.
I'd really enjoy that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
So everyone at home, like I said, if you hopefully we'll be able to get Rachel back to do some more duffs and all sorts in the future. And maybe anyone tell us about any canapes you've had to make to see. That might be exciting. But thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure. And Eva, you say thank you for
or if you've used and if you've used this inspiration, show us what you've made.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, let's see some. Okay, you have one of them. Okay.
You've got to go. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Simeon. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking me.